Great news as the president announced he will support eviction moratoriums under a second stimulus package. Good afternoon, everyone. This is LALATE, and thank you for joining us for Afternoons on LALATE. Big, exciting news minutes ago from the president about eviction moratoriums. And it really is contradictory to everything we've seen, and it makes you want to have whiplash, whether you want it or not. The president said minutes ago that he will support eviction moratoriums in a second stimulus package. And he says he's doing more about it than the Democrats are. Needless to say, no one has told the president that it's not in his package. So what's going on here? Monday, the Republicans debuted their second stimulus package, and in there was no indication of an eviction moratorium bill. It's just not in there. The Democrats have one. On Sunday, the Republicans said it would be in their package, and that package was finalized and it was in there. But when it debuted on Monday, it was not in there. So where is this all going? Let me recap and go over all the craziness, because it is literally craziness. The president, as you know, is en route to Texas minutes ago, but before leaving, he said the following quote to press. In regards to a second stimulus package, we're going to work on the evictions so that the people don't get evicted. We'll work on the payments for the people, referring to the stimulus checks. And the rest of it, we're so far apart, we don't care. We really don't care. That also is very troubling, that he doesn't care the negotiations are far apart on the stimulus packages. But what's very strange is he says, we're going to work on the evictions so that people don't get evicted. Well, on Monday, the president's team, Steve Mnuchin, debuted the HEALS Act, written by Steve Mnuchin for the White House, and also helped by Mike Meadows, the president's chief of staff. And in the HEALS Act is nothing about eviction moratoriums. It was very troubling, and my jaw dropped, as you know, as I described it to you in Mornings on LALATE this morning, when I first saw that bill on Monday. What had happened was on Sunday, Larry Kudlow, who is the president's economic advisor in the cabinet, appeared on CNN, and Steve Mnuchin appeared on Fox Sundays. Both were asked that Sunday, what is in the Republican second stimulus package? And they both said an eviction moratorium bill. They also said that the second stimulus package from the Republicans was done. It's finalized and it's complete. They also said that they had met with leading Republicans on the Hill and that they had gotten complete authorization approval from them about the second stimulus package before introducing it. So on Monday afternoon, the Republicans debuted the second stimulus package, and in there is no eviction moratorium. My jaw dropped, as your jaw dropped as well. What happened? Well, minutes ago, the president says that he's working on it and he's fighting for it more than Democrats are. Simply untrue. It's not even in his bill. The question is whether the Republicans realize it's not in their bill, forgot to include it, or intending to have it as a separate bill. Ultimately, the mindset is really what's great news. Everyone now is apparently saying they want eviction moratoriums and just not putting it into pen and paper. I don't know. I want to hand them the paper and give them the pen and say, write it down, put it there. That is really what's the situation right now. Overnight, Nancy Pelosi said that she is fighting for eviction moratoriums to last the negotiations and be in the finalized second stimulus package. So she's made clear that she's not going to roll over and that eviction moratoriums is not going to be omitted. Really, really great news. If you don't know, eviction moratoriums was generally not a partisan issue. Under the first stimulus package, it was in there. There was a federal law that said you could not evict people during the pandemic under the CARES Act. The problem is that that law has now expired. So you have about 50% of the states in this country now able now allowing landlords to rush to court, which they are, to evict their tenants. And boy, they are really rushing to court. Somewhere between 20 to 40 million landlords are evicting tenants at rapid numbers. Some senators like Kamala Harris, who's introduced one of 5 other rent eviction moratorium laws, say that landlords are doing far worse. They're evicting tenants. They're trying to ruin the tenants' credit history during the pandemic. They're trying to increase the rent so that new tenants come in and get more money, and they're apparently allegedly not following the law when doing evictions. So Kamala Harris says the situation from a legal and credit standpoint is far worse than we actually know. Really quite fascinating. She, of course, is with Maxine Waters and a lot of other people who have 5 different other rent bills out there. Now, where are we with this? Well, this is what is so important for you to understand, and no one really explains it like I do. You have 2 bills, Heroes and Heels. But the problem is you don't just have 2 bills. What's going on is that Republicans and Democrats are saying, I got it. You got these 2 mega bills, these 2 whoppers or, Happy Meals of bills sitting there. But we want our side dishes included, which are their individual bills. And so there are Democrats and there are Republicans who say, I have bills as well. I want them merged into these mega bills. So a lot of Republicans and Democrats are saying, I'm not signing off until my bill is included as well. So that's what's really great news here, is that eviction moratorium is not only being fought by Nancy Pelosi, is not only now part of the discussion from the White House, Steve Mnuchin and Larry Kudlow, but not necessarily on paper. You now have both sides of the table really saying, we need a lot in here and we need a lot more. The question is when, where, and what provisions. Kamala Harris, for example, wants to do stuff that no one has really seen. As you know, she's a presidential candidate for Joe Biden. But she wants to prosecute landlords that don't follow the rules. She wants to ensure that no tenant's credit history is hurt during this pandemic. She wants to ensure that everything is followed in really incredible ways. Elizabeth Warren, who's also a VP candidate, proposes stuff that really protects us further. So she doesn't want any tenants displaced, or aka thrown out of their home, into 2021. And when we're talking about all these bills, it's important to remember we're talking not just about tenants, but also property owners. So if you own your own home and can't make it the mortgage, it's called mortgage forbearance. We're also talking about landlords who own apartment buildings who can't make their bills. And so a lot of people are proposing a lot of protections. The question is where it's going to land. The president says the Democrats are not taking care of the people. The president should have included rent eviction moratorium in his bill and not have had Steve Mnuchin appear on Sunday Morning News and lie to American public that it's in his bill and it's not in his bill. Does the president not know what's in his own bill? This is the same president who told Americans that the second stimulus check was going to be generous, and it was not generous. He said that $1,200 was not a generous amount, that the Democrats were not giving you enough money, and he was going to give you more money than them, a far more generous amount. He didn't. He actually gave you less, $500 for dependents, compared to the Democrats' $1,200. So here he says the Democrats are not taking care of the people as to eviction moratoriums. Not true. The Democrats have eviction moratoriums in the bill. The president has nothing in there for eviction moratoriums. So it causes concern if he really knows what's in his own bill. Did he actually read it? Or does he read anything that comes out of Steve Mnuchin's office? Pelosi said the problem that she's worried about when we talk about this bill is these people who have vowed that they have hard lines in the sand. Basically, some people have said, I'm not negotiating on anything if I don't get this. And Mitch McConnell, for reasons I don't know, I literally, some people think a lot of viewers have said that they think he's senile. Potentially, maybe he is. But he has literally said, I'm not going to talk about anything of this package except one thing, liability insurance. And if you don't give me my liability insurance, I'm not allowing any of these bills to pass. Nancy Pelosi says that's a little bit weird because, first of all, liability insurance is so nebulous. It's so on the outside of everything. Second of all, it doesn't really discuss what's going on. And third of all, as she said, he's littering the stimulus packages with corporate giveaways. He really is, whether it's PPP or special funds for restaurants or special tax deductions. There's a tax deduction. 100% of any money you spend going to restaurants by the fall of this year, as some of the viewers said, it's not the heels bill, it's the meals bill. Really, it is corporate littering of corporate giveaways. She calls it presidential pet projects, very presidential pet projects. The president asked for this $3 billion federal FBI building to be included in a COVID-19 relief bill. Why is that in there? I don't know. Now, in the context of this comes a series of very, very controversial remarks made by the president today about suburban dwellers and low-income housing near them. It's a very complicated series of statements, which is a little too much to go over in just a short video like this. But the president tweeted minutes ago that I am happy to inform all the people living their suburban lifestyle dream that you will no longer be bothered by financially hurt by having low-income housing built in your neighborhood. The comments came after the president vows to replace an Obama-era fair housing rule with his own new rule, the Trump Preserving Community and Neighborhood Choice Rule. It's a little bit... And it's not just a little bit, it's very troubling, but it's a little bit complicated because it's a bounce off from something that Biden said today and yesterday that Trump is responding back with, and he actually invoked Real Housewives, which is just, I really can't. Trump's line of attack has been condemning Democrats and some Republicans, claiming that they're trying to really ruin suburban America. He is evoking Ben Carson into the pitch and saying that the HUD secretary wants to find things wrong with situations. We found that it's unworkable and a waste of time for localities to comply with, and as a resulting, funds are being steered away from communities that need it most. So, boy, at a time in which we should be talking about a second stimulus package, at a time in which Americans need their funds, at a time that people need their checks, being sure that they're not evicted from their homes, the president literally minutes ago is tweeting that suburban America need not worry about low-income housing being built in their homes. You know what, President? You should be worried about people losing their homes. The problem is that people are losing their homes. So why are we talking about preserving homes in a month in which, or even a week in which we are on the edge of the financial cliff? We are on the edge of the financial cliff. People are losing their homes, and he's talking about preserving his communities. You ain't going to have communities that people are evicted. You aren't going to have communities that people are thrown out of their homes, are foreclosed upon by banks. You're not going to have homes if you have rampant unemployment, rampant homelessness. So why are we focusing our attention on these sort of offbeat topics that are really not pressing at the moment? It's that type of discourse that a lot of Republicans are very nervous about for their own political reelection this fall. They see this second stimulus package as so critical to their own reelection and are not happy that the president is not focusing on the real core issues at hand and is focusing on a lot of extraneous stuff, which is really not the priority. Ironically, this is exactly what Nancy Pelosi warned 2 weeks ago. She said that the Republicans have not put stimulus packages, or the second stimulus package, as a priority. That she proposed and introduced the HEROES Act in May, had it approved by the House. It has sat in the Senate since May. We're here heading into almost August. No activity. And she says the Republicans are out talking about a lot of stuff that has a lot of nothing to do with rent evictions and rent eviction moratoriums, that has to do with people getting free federal buildings. And she says ultimately, people will be thrown on the streets and the Republicans will not have cared. And you know what? Until this president realizes there's no eviction moratorium bill written by a leading Republican, he can say he's doing anything, he can say what he wants to say, but ultimately Americans know the truth. There's no eviction moratorium bill currently written by a Republican. While they claim they support one, they haven't introduced one. Stay with us. Continuing later tonight is Primetime LALATE. Thanks for joining us for Afternoons on LALATE, part of our new 4-episode programming block that starts with a check, covers hazard pay, FPUC, and rent assistance. Tomorrow is Mornings with LALATE. As always, stay informed, stay educated, stay motivated, and stay with LA for more.